go. So, have you ever wondered about dust? I know I have. I've been a long time fan of the models. I think the models are great, and I love the fact that they come pre-assembled, pre-base coated. You can pick these things up and play with them. One of the things I've kind of struggled with a bit, though, was what is this whole dust thing all about? So, I've grabbed this man.
Hi there.
Gareth from Battlefront. You'll know Gareth from our NAM week. And Gareth's going to sit and have a dialogue with me and try and give me an insight into what is the background narrative to the whole Dust game. So Gareth, can you give us some insight into this?
Yeah. It's 1947. The World War has been now fighting for 11 years.
Yeah.
And there are three major Axis powers. There's the Axis.
Now, 1947 is Weird World War. So that's actually after the end of the actual World War. So it just continued on.
It's just continued through.
Yeah.
So the major forces are in play. We have the Axis forces, which are the Germans and the Japanese. You then have the Allied forces, which is the Americans, the British, the French, and anyone else. And then you have the SSU, which is the Soviets and the Chinese.
Right.
So basically, they are still fighting a war, and they're really fighting after alien technology.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the propaganda anyway.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll wind the clock back to 1937, before the war started.
Yeah.
And the Germans made a trip to the Antarctic and found a crashed spaceship.
As you do.
Yeah. We all know they're there.
And that's historical fact,
It's fact,
bit.
Yeah. We all know they're there. We're just...
Yeah.
None of us are brave enough to go. It's too cold, basically.
It is a bit.
Yeah. So they found the spaceship and they brought back a sarcophagus.
Right.
They didn't know what was inside it.
Yeah.
They took it back to Germany. And then they formed what was called the Blitzkrieg Corps. And their simple role was to find out what they could do with this alien technology to help them win the war. And then in the war, the Germans built their first walker, which is a two-legged walker with massive big guns on it, which basically decimated the battlefield. The Germans call the alien technology VK, and it's a device that helps power the walkers and the weapons they have. So the Germans very quickly developed laser weapons and fantastic jet planes with lasers.
Lasers.
And then they started experimenting. They realised they were running out of troops. So the Blitzkrieg Corps went, well, I wonder if we can reanimate troops. So they found it worked. And they took the first zombies to attack in Russia. And they invaded the Soviet Union with a big zombie army. It kind of didn't work brilliantly for them. They found they were attacking their own troops as well.
They're
zombies.
They're zombies,
So there was a bit of refinement in it. So the Germans took them off the battlefield and then started working with guerrillas. So there's VK-powered guerrillas. Combat machines.
Basically. So this VK, is it an energy source?
It's an energy source.
Where did they get the intelligence and the...
From the sarcophagus, they found the technology and it's helped them develop. So the vehicles that the Germans and the Axis have built are based on the designs that they found in the spaceships.
Right, okay.
And, they've taken a German tank and stuck it on legs. And then obviously the Allies and the Axis and the SSU saw this and went, hold on a moment. We have to get in on this. We have to start joining that. So the Soviets or the SSU formed a group called SMERSH, which is against spies. And their job was to go and get the VK technology. And the Allies had ASCOM. And again, they went out and got the technology. So
now, where did they capture it from the Germans, or did they go on expeditions? Or
there's captured tech, and then there's also expeditions up to the area to go and capture off the Axis, the area as well. So what, in essence, you've got is the World War history is throughout the 10 years, and then there's elements of other warfare areas. And they've been brought in, new cities, new campaigns. And the major battles that happened in World War II have happened in the dust world. So the Japanese still attacked Pearl Harbor. The Germans actually did try to invade England. There's a great campaign for that. And then there's the desert warfare, which you're going to see a lot from us come up in our next set of releases as well. So think World War II, and as they call it, is dustified.
Yeah.
So instead of having a 17-pounder, it's got a laser gun.
Yeah.
Instead of having a small bazooka, you got lots of bazookas.
Yeah. So it's going to cut a tank in half.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's cool tech on World War II vehicles.
Of so 3 kind of overall factions.
Yep.
Do they break down, or if you wanted to just play kind of Brits, could you do that? Or
No,
if you
not quite as such. There are certainly styles and flavours within each of the forces. I would say the best way to look at it is there's your heavy walker elements.
Yeah.
There is your armoured troops, and then there's your lightly armoured troops.
Yeah.
So people's balanced forces, they'll have a bit of everything. But if you wanted just to have walkers on the table, you can have an army of walkers. If you want the heavy armoured, like we've got these guys here, if you just want an army of those, you can have an army of those. If you just like infantry and you just want to have the foot pounders, you can take those guys as well. They can stack up and fight against each other. They all have their strengths and benefits. That's how the armies split and break down. So you can really tailor the background to how you want to play.
Yeah.
If you love zombies and you love guerrillas, then you're going to use a Blitzkrieg Corps.
I do love guerrillas.
So you're going to go down that line where you probably might take the Blitzkrieg hero.
Yeah.
And he leads your army, and your army has a very heavy zombie theme to it.
Yeah. The other question I have, obviously, I've been exploring Flames of War with my buddy Dave.
Yeah.
And Dave's a big fan of picking an actual army, like the Irish Guards or something like that. Could somebody conceivably, if they had their kind of like their favorite, their 101st Airborne or something like that, try and create a version of that in the Dust universe by just picking kind of appropriate models, just to say this is what that might look like in the Dust universe? So
yeah, they could. There are certainly within the Allied forces there are the Ranger elements, and instead of jumping down from the skies on parachutes, they have jetpacks. Why wouldn't you?
All right, okay, yeah, sold.
They've got jetpacks, and they're going to come in and they're going to power punch on the tanks, or they're going to use their big machine guns to rip apart the enemy infantry.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they have jetpacks?
And the other thing is, I imagine because it's now different as well. If you wanted to go the other way, which is the way I go with the likes of the Nachwolfen or something like that, if you wanted to create this unit of your own, I'm just trying to think where the gaps are in this to create something that is kind of your own. You've created your own symbology and something. They're within the SSU or within the Axis, but you can say this is a very special army within it, and this is the kind of things that they did.
Yeah,
so
I think, for me, I've been playing Dust Tactics for 6-7 months now, and I struggled to work out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
As a Flames War player, I've got a German army, and I've painted my German army and my German camo, and I didn't really want to replicate that again for my tactics army. So I've gone down the path of using film references. So I loved Captain America.
Yeah.
So my army is very similised on Hail Hydra.
Yeah.
So they've got laser guns. My guys have laser guns. So have my guys got black uniforms and steel helmets? Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where I've taken mine from it, and I'm forming my army around lasers.
Yeah.
And the great thing is, because the World War II feel element is still there, you can take World War II units, vehicles, and dustify them. So, the walkers here, they're based on like the Stuarts.
Yeah.
The planes here are based on the German flying wing, which was developed. These steel walkers, They're not really based on anything, but they're really cool.
They're based on awesomeness.
Yeah, they're affectionately known as the turtles.
Yeah,
You know,
the turtles.
Yeah. So you've got like helmets open and closed. You've got crewmen inside it.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. And of course,
they're Soviet, those things.
These are the Soviets. Yeah, these are the SSU. These are new out. So they came out this month, and then there's the command unit coming out, and there's going to be more sort of heavy. These are the heavy infantry.
Yeah.
These are the real powerhouses of the table.
The three factions, do they play differently, or does it just depend on what you want to field and what you want to play? So you could play your playing style regardless of which of the factions you want to take, or how does it work?
There is certain elements within each army that the other armies don't have.
Right.
So the Germans have a high amount of laser weapons.
Mm-hmm.
They invented laser technology. The Russians have Tesla, and the Americans have phaser technology. So they all have their own version of it.
Yeah.
But the Axis is just better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not laying any bias on that at all. But you know, the SSU have helicopters.
Yeah.
So they can hold in place, and they can ferry units around where none of the other armies can do that with their air power.
Mm-hmm.
The Germans' air power is quick move, get on the table, shoot stuff, move around the table.
Yeah.
The Allied air power, as you can imagine, is big, slow, heavy amounts of firepower, huge amounts of damage.
Yeah.
And the SSU have a lot of flexible manoeuvrability in their army by the fact that they can go down, pick up that walker, and move it to another side of the battlefield. So a bit, good flowing flexibility.
Yeah.
For me, everything always comes down to choice of models.
Yes.
Which model do you love the best? I think the difficult choice for the viewers will be, well, which ones don't you like?
Yeah.
There's in each range, there's such a great variation of figures that you can choose from. But there's something in there for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, if you like zombies, you're going to go Axis. If you like guys screaming down from the heavens in jetpacks, you're going to go Allies. If you like big tanks, the Russians have some serious big tanks in their army.
Yeah.
You're going to go SSU. If you love really heavy armoured infantry but in small numbers, the SSU are for you as well.
Yeah.
You know, so there's styles of play.
Now, currently, it's Dust Tactics, which is a kind of a board game.
Yep.
How many miniatures or what size of a force do you need to play Tactics?
To play Tactics really is about 100 points.
Yeah.
And 100 points will give you a character, a walker, and 2 infantry units. And with that, you're going to be able to play. You've got good flexibility of what you want to be able to do on the battlefield. So you'll be able to play lots of styles of games.
Yeah.
There's lots of mission scenarios in the rule books. And then you just add into it. So you go, I might play like tonight, and you bring down your force and you decimate me because you just bought these guys. You put them on the table, and I've got nothing in my army. I go, okay, I need to work out what I'm going to counter that with.
Yeah.
So then I start looking through my army and go, I could really do with another walker. So off I go, add a walker into my list, and then slowly our armies...
It just builds up a wee
bit.
bit.
Your armies grow and evolve. The guys in the office, they're having great fun with... they sit there together with their army cards. They sit down there and they lay the cards down with each other. So they build armies that are going to work well against each other.
Yeah.
Rather than taking that big mega death army, which you certainly can in Dust.
Yeah.
If you like huge amounts of firepower and lots of death and destruction in turn 1...
Yeah,
Dust is there for you. It's brutally fast in times. You know, you'll see stuff disappear off the table.
So if I'm trying to get into Dust, what's my best routes into Dust at this stage? Because I'm seeing things like these awesome looking bunkers and things like that as well. You know, how do I get this stuff? What are my steps if I want to start trying to get into it?
The first step for you will definitely be the new starter sets we have coming out in January.
Yeah.
We've got a starter set for each of the major forces. So you've got an Axis, an SSU, and an Allied one. And in there you get a hero.
Yep.
So you get a named hero. So with the Axis, it's Stefan. He has an awesome flamethrower, horrendous in close combat. He's great. You get Bazooka Joe with the Allies. Funnily enough, he has a bazooka.
And he's called Joe.
And then with the Russians, you get what's her name? I forgot her name. I forgot her name.
Crazy Chick of Death.
Crazy Chick of Death. In Russian, it translates to kitten.
Kitten.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But she has a walker in there called Grandma, which is her walker, and she basically pilots her walker, but she's got a close combat pistol.
Yeah.
She's awesome. So yeah.
So do you get a character, some troops? Do you get a walker or something in the box as
Each
well?
of them give you a walker. So with the allies, you get the pounder, which is a nice big 17-pounder gun, great for taking out allied walkers. The Axis get the Loth with 2 big 88s on it. So big power def.
88s are good.
Yeah.
I know this. I've learned this piece of history. 88s are very good. If somebody says 88s, that means good.
Yeah. And then the SSU get Grandma.
Yeah.
And she has a bit of a mixture of range, but very good in close combat.
Yeah.
And then both boxes have 2 units of infantry. So you've got
2 units of infantry.
2 units of infantry. Yeah. So you've got stuff that can rush off into combat, or sit back and deploy on the objective area of the battlefield. So yeah, the
I take it the rules for the game are in there as well.
Yeah, you get the full set of rules.
Yeah.
You get your faction-specific dice, and you also get your playing mat. So because Tactics is played on a mat with grid.
Yeah.
So you get that in there. So double-sided, so you've got a variation of how it looks.
And how big is a game of Tactics then? If you're playing on a mat, can you put the mats together and make a bigger game? Yeah.
Yeah, your starter games will generally be on a sort of a 2 foot by 4 foot mat, and then you can add more in. So each section is 2 foot by 4 foot, so roughly the size of this table.
Yeah.
The guys are playing 16 by 8s at times. They're having really big games.
16 feet
by
8.
Yeah, big games.
And it scales to that.
Yep.
The game will scale. Scale fine to that.
They're playing 500-600 points, so they've got a lot of forces on the table.
How many players can play at the same time?
Many as you want.
Really?
Yeah. Because of how the turn sequence works, it isn't I sit here and wait for you to finish your turn.
Yeah.
It's done on card activation. So at the beginning of the phase, you roll your initiative.
Yeah.
Whoever wins the initiative, they go first. So then you activate your units by the card. So you get your card and go, right, I'm activating my unit, and then you make your movements with that unit, turn the card over, then goes to you. So then you have a chance to react against what I've done there, but also bearing in mind
what might happen
with the rest of my army. So, you know, feasibly, you can have... We've played 3-player games, and that works fine.
Yeah.
I don't see any problem with 4 players.
Yeah.
6, 8. Just depending how big you want to go with it.
So I've picked up a starter set.
Yep.
Myself and Dave found this with Flames of War that a couple of starter sets actually give us an even better army.
Yep.
Are we getting duplication that we don't need? Could somebody pick up a couple of starter sets and have a bigger fleshed out force, or are they better picking up a starter set, getting used to it, and then maybe picking out some of the more specialist kind of bits and pieces? Or is it just down to choice?
It's down to choice. I mean, me personally, I would buy 2 starter sets because that gives me 2 walkers, 4 units of troops. Can't use 2 heroes.
Yeah.
You know, I've got one that I can practice my painting on, give it to a mate. You know, if I've got someone else who's playing and he plays Allied, I can give him my Axis one.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, great. But that means I've got a lot more. But everything you need in that start set's there, and that's when you then start... Really, it's that escalation of warfare between your opponent.
Yeah.
You know, the first time he brings a plane to the table, you're going to go, oh, I want a plane. Or, actually, I want a really big anti-aircraft gun.
Yeah.
Right. What's in the
88.
force? Yeah, 88. So actually, there's a really cool one called a Koenigs Luther.
A Koenigs Luther.
4 legs.
Yeah.
Quads. It's really, really nice. Wait to see that one, guys. That's a superb model. Really, really good. It's huge.
The other thing then is these pieces here. This isn't terrain. This is actual weaponry in the game.
Yeah.
You know, it's
everything that comes with Dust has a stat card. So everything's usable. So the great thing with the bunker is it has 6 uses. So what we can do is you take everything out. It's a bunker on the table.
Yep.
You stick a lid on it, it's an armoured bunker on the table.
So I get a lid there. So it goes from bunker to Armored bunker.
Yep.
Right.
Then we can take the lid off again.
Uh-huh.
And then we can go. Oh. Okay. We go. Heavy weapons bunker.
Yep.
There we go. Oh, actually, I want it a bit protected. I go.
Armored heavy weapons bunker.
Heavy weapons bunker. And then in the box, you've also got the option to then go. You've got a single one over there.
Yep.
So you can go single, lid on, or lid off.
Did that all come in the one box?
And that all comes in the one box with the crew for it as well.
Yeah.
So, and then you also get a little crate with some guns. You've got doors that go on the back because the doors have stat lines as well. So that plain piece
means
there,
you get to destroy doors.
you get destroyed doors because you want to get into the bunker. So,
Ooh.
yeah, there's a great scenario in Operation Achilles where you have to go and charge down the length of the table
Yeah.
and destroy the bunker.
Yeah.
Two ways you can do it. You can sit from afar and try and blast it away, or you can go in there,
Make a
close and
run
dirty,
for it,
make
try
a
and
run
get
for
in.
it, and get in there and go close combat on it.
Well, you've mentioned Operation Achilles. One of the ways that Dust kind of works is it moves forward in waves and campaigns.
Yes,
There are campaign boxes.
It's a living history, which is the thing I really love.
Yeah.
The history doesn't sit still.
Yeah.
The game started. The first campaign was the invasion into Dover.
Yeah.
So that was the first campaign pack, and then each campaign pack has moved on, has added more history into it, more units, more background, and the characters have evolved as well. So Bazooka Joe started life as a young hero in the mists, and in the latest incarnation, he's older, he's wiser, his equipment's changed, and the same with his sort of nemesis, which is Sigrid, and she started life with a pistol. Now she has a pistol and
bazooka, but looks of it, yeah.
Lots of missile weapons.
Yeah.
So the world and the background, which has been created by Paolo Parentini and Olivier Sanfrescu, they are moving the background along and they're moving the history.
So it's
along.
not static.
It's not static.
It's moving forward as we go along.
So you're as a player, when you're playing, you'll feel like you're part of a moving universe and a moving timeline. I started playing when we invaded into Britain, and now we're all the way up to the end of the winter campaign, which is Achilles. So the next phase for me is I have a winter army. My next phase is I'm going to have to get a desert army because we're going into the desert.
Going to the desert next. Is the next.
Yeah, so
next
it's what's commonly known as NDAC, which is the Africa Corps for the Axis. We've seen some of the stuff coming out for the Allied forces. Yeah. Nothing yet for the Soviets, but Olivier was telling me a lot when we were over in Essen. There's a lot of cool stuff coming on. Yeah. And these guys are thinking in terms of background. The war is coming to a crunch point, and they're already thinking past that. Yeah, they're thinking about, so where will this go once the war finishes? How are we going to draw the war to an end? And how will that come through? And where does it go next? Where will the technology lead to? Yeah. So for me, I find it really fresh and exciting that there is a moving history, especially by the designers as well. So it makes it exciting.
Right. For anybody that's interested in getting into the game, the starter sets are due after the new year?
Yeah, during third week of January. So keep an eye out on the Dust Tactics website. Yeah. And, bug your local retail store to find out about it and get them in stock.
So, guys, thanks for watching. In January, we're going to start looking in more detail at Dust. We're going to do some playthroughs and things like that. As we get our starter sets in, maybe you guys fancy following along, grabbing your starter sets and going on a journey with us as we start to explore Dust. For me, I happen to love it. Myself and Lloyd have always been big fans of Dust. One of the big reasons we've always liked it is because we don't get enough time to do the gaming that we want to do.
That's the same for all of us.
And the Dust stuff, you take it out of the box, it's assembled beautifully. It even has moving components and stuff like that on it. It comes with a base color and the transfers and things on it that I've had a Dust model in the past that I spent quite literally about 20 minutes weathering. and it looked fantastic.
Yeah.
It just looked great. And all it was doing was just some simple weathering techniques to it. And in the new year, we're going to be bringing some of that to you as well and show you how you can take your dust models and with some very simple techniques, turn them into something quite exceptional, actually. And you'll be surprised at the results you get pretty darn quick. Gareth, look, thanks very much for joining us. I've got a much better picture now of dust. In the rule book that's coming out in January, I believe there's timelines and stuff like that all laid out.
There's a timeline all the way from 1937 to where we are in 47.
Yeah.
And then there's a breakdown of each of the forces. So there's a big section on the Axis and the Allies and the SSU, and then you go into the rules.
Okay. One of the other things is obviously we're moving now into the desert campaign. So here's a task for you guys. I wonder if you can post below any ideas, suggestions you have for kind of desert painting techniques and desert weathering techniques, where we could take our dust models and make them look like they're out in North Africa with all the dust and sand and everything else. Because winter, I've done winter, I've had ideas of it.
Yeah.
Desert's a whole new challenge. So post below any ideas you have, guys. Other than that, thanks for watching.